Good afternoon and assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. We are very sorry for the delay, but you know how traffic is. My name is Muhammad Abdullah Bashir, and I will be your host for this session. After stepping into the mainstream with Manto in 2015, Mr. Sarmad Khoosat is once again back with a movie that will clearly stay with the audience long after they've left the cinema. Directed and co-produced by Mr. Sarmad, along with his sister, Ms. Khoosat, and written by Ms. Nirmal Bano, Zindagi Tamasha is a bilingual film mostly shot in Punjabi. The film is an intimate portrait of a family as well as a scorching political commentary on little gods on this earth who police our private passions. Today on panel, we have the people behind the Zindagi Tamasha film. Mr. Sarmad Khoosat, director, Ms. Khoosat, producer, Mr. Arif Hassan, lead actor, Ms. Nirmal Bano, screenwriter, and Mr. Saad Ehsanuddin, CEO of Cinepax. Please join me in welcoming our guests with a big round of applause.
With your permission. There we go.
Should we try this one?
Testing. Okay. I think, can everyone hear me in the back? I think any society that does not respect its art, culture, loses its way and does not find its way for many generations. People like Mr. Khoosat and the work he is doing reminds us of who we are, our traditions, our values, and also puts up a mirror for society to look at itself and reflect. But most importantly, it gives us a background to engage in constructive conversations and look at points of views which might differ from our own. And that is exactly the stimulation of thought as well as ideas that art, artists, and people we respect, cherish, and hold dear in our society need to do more and more. Without taking the limelight away, I am so very proud to be here on this panel with these gentlemen and ladies. And this is one of the few times we've got 50-50 balance, which is fantastic from our perspective. And I would like to ask you, what made you think about your film and how did you come about this idea? What was the first idea? How do you think through films? And what is it that you would want to highlight about your upcoming film? And then we can get into a few questions and answers. We are a bit short on time.
First of all, on behalf of the Zindagi Tamasha team, I'm very thankful to ThinkFest, and I apologize to all of you for the delay. We had a prior commitment somewhere, and this session just a couple of days ago was pulled back, and then the traffic and Lahore happened. Coming to what sort of inspired us to make Zindagi Tamasha, I think any artistic expression, even if it's it's based on fantasy, it has to come from somewhere. That atom, that basic scratch is always picked from some form of or some sort of environment. This, again, I think the initial scratch was just to tell a story about intolerance and tolerance. Like the things, the incidents everywhere which bother all of us. And I'm not just pointing at a particular kind of intolerance, but overall, the idea of being intolerant towards other people's opinions, about varying ideas or about differences of opinion even, So, broadly speaking, that was the main, the theme. And then, if I can be factually correct, I think there were a couple of random, bizarre videos on YouTube that I saw of something. I would not tell you what. You have to watch the film to find out. And so that kind of triggered sort of, some form of a plot to the film, that we have started feeding the cyberspace with a lot of interesting, sometimes funny, sometimes bizarre, sometimes objectionable, sometimes just blah content, right? And all of us are putting it out there. So That was step 2. Step 3 was when Nirmal Bano came into the picture. Nirmal Bano is a film graduate from the National College of Arts. And I would want her to take it from here if you...
Hello all, and yes, sorry for being late. So as Sarmad said that the film, the idea, we did have a character, this video he has mentioned, that did inspire us to develop a character, but then where did all the themes and the subject came from? I think when we started, we didn't know exactly what we were going to do, and that video that had inspired it later became a scene of a film. So what happens before that and what happens after that, while we were working on that, that's when it was a very organic process that it all started coming to us. And I think even when we are not very what would you call, so like, I don't think any of us here is an activist or something, social activist, but yet whatever happens and we have an opinion about it. And even if we aren't very vocal about it, it's there in our mind. So that's what happened with Zindagi Tamasha as well. So a lot of people have mentioned it's a very difficult subject, and it talks about, I don't think just makes a comment on the lack of tolerance or intolerance. I think I was thinking last night that we even had a comment on the environment pollution in one scene. So we even make because the film is set in Lahore, so one of the characters says something about the smog, the phenomena that Lahoris have, it has become a part of our landscape for last few years. So as a writer, I would say that whatever happens around you, even if you haven't experienced it, you witnessed it. So it somehow becomes part of your subconscious, and then it translates into the writing process and into the script. So there was no agenda, there was no foreign funding, air quote, but if you live in a place, all of that somehow, even when you don't intend to, very practically, it somehow comes into the play and becomes part of what you are creating. So that's...
I think I came into the picture very late. I'm the producer, and I was actually committed with another project, and happened to this one particularly because of my prior commitment. But then as soon as I joined and I heard the story, and Sarmad did share the idea with me before he went into writing this script with Nirmal Bano, what I particularly liked about it was the uniqueness of the idea, because not many mainstream films are made with the intention of going a little off the mainstream route, and not thinking about how commercially viable it is going to be a project for the producers or for, let's say, for the makers of the film. Apart from that, I would say not just visually, but also in terms of its narrative and the characters that it shows and unfolds, for me while making it was such a pleasure, not just an inspiration alone. I am truly firm of this belief that you are also going to savor that texture, if nothing else, and you would remember this film after watching it for its uniqueness. I'm again saying, if for nothing else, you would remember this film.
But Tawal, if I was to ask you, for you as a producer, what do you think will be the success of this film? How will you measure success for this film, for you personally?
Effectiveness of the narrative hits home with the audience. We do not count the number of the audience, I would say. If one comes to the cinema and gets affected and positively affected by this narrative, I would say that's the success of the film. Numbers really don't matter. And even today's day, numbers are really forced, and with this mainstream media and whatnot, everything's become about numbers. And I would say, with not just mainstream and electronic media, but also with the social media, I would say. So cinema is still so far, let's say, a little away from those number games, at least here with us, in our country. The depth of the impact it is going to make on the audience, and if audience, go back home,
merchandise development. And so that
Thank you. That's wonderful.
I'm Arifasad and I was the lead of so the uniqueness that someone is expansion, you can see with this appearance, I played the lead of the hero. So, and my voice is changing because not that the stage fright, so thank you very much for being here. And, sorry if you got late. Personally speaking, for me it was a life-changing experience to an extent. I'm not an actor. I did some theatre 30 years ago, and Sarmad asked me to do this role, and I did that. A little thing which I want to add, actually, we took this film to Busan, South Korea, Busan, International Film Festival. And me and Sarmad were sitting there, and there was a lot of Koreans, of course. We were watching film, but they don't even understand English. So it was translated into Korean from the side of the screen. And Sarmad just did this to me and said, look, these Korean women are crying. So that was the effectiveness of the cinema, and I really felt very proud that we made something with these people who don't even understand, they're just watching and reading simultaneously. And they are understanding the concept of the film, which is based on Indian problems primarily, emotions, family relations, life of a very ordinary man living in Lahore, old Lahore. So we tried to do justice with the concept, and since we won the award, I think we did that. So, like,
Looks like there are a lot more films coming your way, sir, after that.
sir, I don't know, they're asking me. Only Khoosat films.
Exclusivity side. Right? Yeah. You're all witness of this. Sir, then I'm going to ask you two questions and then open it up to the audience because we are very limited on time. What are your thoughts on how this will contribute to society and where the future of art is? One question.
I think the first one, again, I don't think there can be two opinions about it. Film, from its very inception or invention, has managed to go from, say, just fragments that were meant to just record whatever was happening, to entertaining people, to bringing or at least adding to revolutions. I mean, we know the Soviet cinema, what it managed to do, the French New Wave cinema, what that managed to do, in terms of this whole idea of creating larger-than-life characters and heroes, how I think it has somehow, in some ways, just brought itself very close to how people would look at literature. And there's a lot of cinema all over the world where, film did become like another audio-visual interpretation of a lot of literature. So definitely, I mean, I do feel that by instilling ideas, by, say, projecting images, by using icons and symbols and words and music, you can definitely, you can bring, if not a big change, you can change some form of a thought process. And I firmly believe in that that there is just not that magic which is about entertainment, but sitting in that dark hall and looking at this larger-than-life screen and hearing whatever it has to say and looking at it, it has an impact. It has a very
delirious impact to begin with, and then it starts growing you towards it. I do feel that, you know, all of us quote dialogues from film. There was a time when fashion used to come from films even, and again, film is taught like, you know, like source material, which contains anything from history and politics to, I mean, so again, I don't think, and film for that is such an interesting, you know, like a melting pot of all these allied disciplines. I mean, you need photography, you need music, you need literature, you need acting, you need colors. So I just feel that, you know, not because I practice it, but I do feel that if not the most supreme, it is the most complex. And also, like, so many people coming together and trying to make one, say, it's almost like, say, 100 people trying to make a painting or a sculpture. And then so all that energy going into something. So film clearly for me is a very, very important medium. The second part, sorry, could you repeat that?
I think we'll go on to the, I'll just come to one more thing and then a small comment I will make leading to this question. Given that my own background is in cinema, we come across the government is never helpful. And I'll tell you my own personal experience. The first time I met her, she asked me, what can I do for your industry? And I turned around and I said, put my hands up and I said, please leave us alone for 10 years. Don't interfere. And we will find our own way out. Just don't ban films, don't do things. We will policy. And you know something? 6 months later, I went back to her and I said, I was 100% wrong. I have changed my opinion about 180 degrees. You are one of the best things that has happened. And I can positively tell you that the last 4 ministers of information that we dealt with as an industry, we only deal with as an industry, not on a personal basis, have all gone out of their ways to support this industry. We are thankful to them. So there is also this message I would like to say to people, that a lot of times we think government is not helpful, but we have to reach out to them. We have to actually engage with them in a positive way, so they see value before they can support. So I would encourage people to do that. And having said that, now the elephant in the room is, he has a very different experience. So after that, I'll open this up to questions from everyone. So Sarmad, you and your role with the government, please tell me.
It is
ये comment करने फिर आपके सवाल.
I mean, it's not very widely different from what you said. I do feel, and again, I would like to be politically ambivalent. So we had a lot of trouble. I think every time somebody came up to me and talked about the film, since the trailer came out in September, they would say, बैन हो गई ना आपकी फिल्म, and आपकी बड़ी controversial लग रही है फिल्म. I was like, no. मैंने कहा, why? What do you? So I don't know. I mean, just because कोई की कुछ चीज़ों को हम we just draw that line that, you know, this is controversial or that's taboo or that's sensitive issue. I think we are trying to create a distance from it. We're trying to also you know, reinforce the idea that, oh, this is something that we should not be talking about. So again, I don't know, whatever the thing was, I had some trouble with the censor board. I made my film, finished the first cut that I sent to the censors last year before taking it to Khoosat. They gave us censor clearance, as they call it. There were a couple of things that they wanted us to beep out, and then suddenly one day I found out that, you know, my film has to be recensored. I was like, I don't know, how does that happen? But then I saw a big U written somewhere. I thought, of course, those terms are important in life. Oh my God. So then we were called in again by the censor board, and we were reviewed. And after that, I think there's a little more deletions now. And as you said, I don't know, I hope they're doing something for the cinema houses, but they're not doing anything for film production. The government is not helping at all in any possible way, even if it's, say, relaxation regarding taxation or any kind of support. No, nothing is happening. No, but I'm saying, because I've been a part of this thing when they were making the policy, and well, in any case. I mean, we talk about funding all the time. I think we are funding cinema houses, but we are not funding films. Nobody is.
No time, no sneak peek, just after. No time, no sneak peek.
What we'll do is we'll open it up to questions. You will get the first and the last questions. We'll give you the first and the last question. All I would ask is if you could make questions or comments so everyone can benefit from it. And we're trying to fit one question to a person. We have another, we'll stretch it a bit and keep questions for another 12 minutes if that okay. Right, Jen? Please introduce yourself also so we all know.
Sarmad is a source of motivation for me. I am Iranian, Sarmad also Iranian. मैंने O-level किया, because one of question ये है कि पंजाबी is an oriental language भी नहीं है कि underprivileged language है. हमें पंजाबी बोलनी नहीं आती और पंजाबी नहीं पढ़ सकते. तो आपने पंजाबी से कैसे पढ़ा और आपने कैसे राइट किया और कैसे डायरेक्ट किया और प्रोड्यूस किया और आपने वर्ड्स
That's enough. That's all the questions I won't be able to answer. Very short. So what I want to say is मैं पंजाबी स्पीकिंग घर में पैदा हुआ. मेरी माँ कश्मीरी थी, मेरे अब्बा जो हैं वो पंजाबी स्पीकिंग हैं. मैंने पंजाबी सुनी बहुत है. यकीनन हम जब पढ़ाई लिखाई का निज़ाम ऐसा है उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा इनकरेज नहीं किया गया पंजाबी बोलना, तो उसके लिए कुछ कोशिश की गई. ख़ासतौर पर मैंने कोई 5-6 महीने I took lessons in Punjabi. I can speak it fluently now and everything requires time, but it's possible.
Anyone else? There's a gentleman over there. I'll try and cover the room with left and right. Come to us.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Sadiq. My question is to Sarmad sir. That my son's name is also Sarmad. Do you think that in this intolerant society, this type of movie can create what type of riffles and cause problems? Do we have the space to digest this type of topics in our society?
देखिए, हर काम का मैं वही समझता हूँ, हम खाली एतराज़ अगर नहीं करें और कुछ सिस्टम्स को मान के उनको फॉलो करें. Like a good civilian, like a good citizen of this country, I followed all the systems that are there. मेरा हक है अपनी आज़ादी से अपने ख्याल का इजहार करना. हाँ, अगर स्टेट को उस पर लगता है कि मैं कुछ गलत कर रहा हूँ तो there are censor boards for that. They have cleared it. And I firmly believe कि अगर मुझे एक सनद मिल गई जिसमें मेरा कोई अमल दखल नहीं है, मेरा कोई रिश्तेदार हुकूमत में नहीं है, कोई रिश्तेदार फौज में नहीं है, तो मुझे अभी sorry, but that's not technically correct by the way. Mama is a retired lieutenant colonel, but मामा से हम कई सालों बाद मिलते हैं. What I'm trying to say is कि अगर एक चीज़ आप बनाते हैं तो एक आर्टिस्ट की खसूसन रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी होती है कि आप सिर्फ जिस तरह टीवी के ऊपर मुझे लगता है बहुत ज़्यादा एक रुझान बन गया है शोर मचाने का, आर्टिस्ट का काम नहीं है. सो मैंने ना गम में ना गुस्से में मैंने बहुत प्यार से एक बात कहनी थी और मैंने प्यार से वो बात कही है. मैं किसी को ऑफेंड नहीं करना चाहता था, ना मैंने किसी को ऑफेंड किया. सो let's see how people respond to it. But our intention was not, कोई मैं कंट्रोवर्सी की शुरू में बात कर रहा था. Everybody feels कि कंट्रोवर्सी कोई अच्छी चीज़ होती है. कंट्रोवर्सी मुझे बिल्कुल नहीं पसंद. It creates bad air. It just creates unnecessary conflict. जब मेरी फिल्म सेंसर बोर्ड ने रिकॉल की, मुझे बार बार इर्द-गिर्द के लोग कहते थे इसके बारे में बात तो करो, लोग तो बहुत शोर मचाते हैं चीज़ों को. Why would I do that? Like, you know, I do not want that kind of energy around my film. So वो जब सिर्फ एक रिक्वायरमेंट ही आई थी कि हमें YouTube के ट्रेलर में जो पूरी फिल्म में से कंडेंस करके एक चीज़ जब आती है तो उसका कॉन्टेक्स्ट कभी समझ नहीं आता, तो उनके कुछ एतराज़ात कुछ लोगों की तरफ से आए. उनको ऐसे लगा कि शायद हम कोई तनकीद कर रहे हैं उन पर. तो तब ट्रेलर हटाने का जब उन्होंने बोला तो दैट बिकेम पब्लिक न्यूज़ ऑफ कोर्स, यू नो. तो फिर उन्होंने कहा कि इस ट्रेलर को री-एडिट करके डालिए. ऑल्दो दैट ट्रेलर वाज ऑलरेडी क्लियर्ड बाय द सेंसर्स, बट समहाउ इट मैनेज्ड टू इवोक some kind of you know.
Thank you.
Everyone should also know that films here are regulated under the 1979 ordinance. And social media, internet, Netflix, nothing is regulated in this world. There's an open conversation and an open dialogue. But we still regulate films. It is the only really regulated content which is approved by the government. There's a gentleman here who has a question. And if there's any other questions from anyone else in the panel, or some ladies want to ask some questions, so we can keep our
best wishes for Sarmad Sam and his team for the film. My question is for Mr. Saad. So the Indian films are currently banned in Pakistan. What sort of a negative impact it is having on the cinema business, especially when the local industry is not producing that many films on a regular basis? Thank you.
Yeah, I think, good question. Our sales are down about 60% overall, I would say. And it is a big challenge for us, I think, in the next coming years. It's a voluntary ban we have done before this September this period came in, and we've been supportive of the government in that. I think the real reason is cinema is a choice for people in society. It's not like sitting on a TV channel and clicking to a channel. It's actually getting into a car, making a commitment, and going there. And what we have noticed more than anything else is it's not only that banning of Indian films. People do not like choice being taken away. Not that Indian films account for 37% of our films now, right? But while occupancy drops 60%, people don't want choice taken away. Once you take choice away from them, they don't want to exercise that desire. And I think that is something which we are trying to struggle to make people understand. And at the end of the day, as someone said, you cannot, unless there is content people want to watch, cinemas will not survive. And the last comment is that the 5 longest, because we are an undisputed market in Pakistan, we have more market, less space. The 5 most popular films ever run in our cinemas have all been Pakistani films. Not Indian films, not Hollywood films. The ones that have run for half a year have been Pakistani. Khuda ke liye, Darling. And then the lady in the front.
Thank you. Another rally, and I will make sure that it's a very quick one. 2 quick ones, one short comment and one question.
We have only
very quick ones. First one on your movie on intolerance, and I'm not surprised why the Korean girls were crying, because the feelings were very obvious, the relations. And the question is that you have highlighted a very serious problem in the society, intolerance. In your opinion, my question is, do you have a plan to make a film on a sort of recipe, how to come up with it and be done?
I agree completely with what you're saying, that it should not just be pointing out something, but I do feel that sometimes it is reflection, and that reflection somehow can make you think. So even when we're talking about intolerance in the film, or depicting it, I do feel that it will, inshallah, touch some chord where people would want to reevaluate how they look at things. So it's not always, I do feel that in a jargon-like way, or say that kind of forced messaging is not there. This is, as you've seen, whatever clips from the film, it has a very realistic tone to it. We have also stayed away from the very sort of, conventional melodramatic mood which is associated with mainstream cinema here. So I do feel that it should manage to inspire people to rethink. And again, perhaps one day short.
Okay, ladies, last 3 questions, the lady in the front. There's one gentleman.
I'm Naima Bukhari. I'm a great fan of your father, Irfan Khoosat. And I was wondering, cinema is still a very powerful medium. Why doesn't Pakistan produce films? Like, I want to see a film every month, a good quality film, with humor like your father used to. Why doesn't we have? Because Pakistani public is really deprived of good entertainment.
Again, I would say there's a very simple reply to that. Film is also a very expensive medium, and particularly because the closest comparison that people make is with the Bollywood cinema. And Bollywood cinema mostly thrives, other than some really great medium budgeted films that have started coming out. It is always banked on production and scale and grandeur. So added to that, I feel that, you know, they want that large experience, and honestly, there are not a lot of people who are willing to fund films. No. Even, so it requires money, that's what I'm saying. But they are, no, but आप mega नहीं भी कहें with the kind of territory that we have, or the, say, आपकी returns की cycle है, the number of screens that are required to a minimum, वो भी कम, वो भी पूरा नहीं होता. So बनाते कुछ ना करते I would want to call it an independent film, because we've made it independent of any studios or any TV production houses or the channels that are making films now. बहुत सारे पैसे लग जाते हैं, honestly. I mean, I don't know of many rich actors or producers. I mean, I just feel कि middle class का इंसान जब फिल्म बनाता है तो उसके लिए वो चंद करोड़ रुपए भी बहुत पैसे होते हैं. It's a lot of money. So बननी चाहिए, बिल्कुल आप ठीक कह रही हैं. पर रही बात ह्यूमर की, I do feel कि somehow ये मुझे एक लगता है कि अच्छा humor, a sense of humor, a pulse of life to any narrative is very important. There is a very alive pulse to Zindagi Tamasha also. आप पंजाबी में कुछ बनाएं और उसमें किसी मिज़ाह ना हो, I think that would be like completely unfair. But सिर्फ कॉमेडी करके हमने entertainment को भी restrict कर दिया. अभी जब भी mainstream के लोग फिल्म बनाना चाहते हैं, they only want to make comedies at the moment. I understand that people want to laugh, but entertainment इतना limited नहीं होना चाहिए. Gripping होना चाहिए. हर तरह की कहानी होनी चाहिए. लोगों को ह्यूमर चाहिए लीजिए, but ह्यूमर के नाम पे if you are only going to regurgitate what is out there on social media and just make corny lines, no, humor is a very refined expression also. I mean, we have had great legends writing humor in this country. I do not feel that, you know, we are that sophisticated with it anymore.
By the way, just so you know the answer to this also, all the profits. So last year the government introduced this to their finance bill. Any corporate that invests in making a movie and they make a profit out of it, it's tax-free. So they've given that tax-free on the profits and they can make. So hopefully larger corporates will start funding that.
But again, ground reality being, other than this, I have produced another film last year called Kamli, and I thought, okay, this film perhaps is, as they would say, controversial or does not have a huge star cast. That one has a huge star cast, and जिस तरह आप छाबड़ी लगाते हैं, मैं उस तरह अपनी presentation लेके बहुत लोगों के पास गया. Corporates do not want to fund films, and I'm talking to big corporates. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They're going into other directions, but no, not for the cause of film, I'm guessing.
There's one question there, last question.
Hello, my name is Monahan, and there's a tiny minor error inside me. So basically, it's a request rather than a question. To Sarmad, can we have a sneak peek of Ansar's uncensored version at Bolo?
I can tell you one thing. Nothing has been taken out of the film. Like there's no scene or visual that has been deleted. You're only going to hear a few beeps in the audio. So just, you know, use your skill to read lips.
Okay, last question. The lady over there. I hope the question is for someone other than us.
Yes, I'm tired. I need water.
आगे ऊपर left.
My name is Leshi, and my question is to everyone in the panel. So, can you just share some thoughts about, as the film is about the social issue, so can you just tell how important is it to make the film, as it's a huge platform and there are like many people watching those films. So how important it is to make film on social issues like this one, the intolerance and many others?
I think we let the lady who wrote the film take this one, and if you could just limit it to one.
So it is very important, I think, film, especially in 2020 साल ये film has its place historically, it has its place in revolution and resistance. So yeah, is very important. And hope ke with Zindagi Tamasha and many other films, Zindagi Tamasha was the first film to explore a social issue in Pakistan. So I think we already are doing good in that.
Thank you everyone for coming. I think this has been a great session. I will request one more very loud round for Mr. Khoosat and his team, and let's wish him all the best for not only this film, but many more that come. Thank you so much.
Plugging 24th of January, the film releases all across Pakistan, and please go watch it in a theatre near you. And just in case, we are going to Cinepax Packages Mall tonight also at 6:45.
There's going to be a live performance by the band that's produced music for the film, Sarkin. So please be there at Cinepax. 6 o'clock. Packages Mall.
Why don't you give me your number? We'll get in touch someday.